Florida Judge Merilee Ehrlich was removed from her post after a video emerged in which she berated a sick defendant during a hearing on April the 15th of 2018. 59-year-old Sandra Twiggs, who suffered from asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, was attending a hearing via video stream due to her health complications. Ehrlich grew irritated after Twiggs attempted to expound upon her answers on multiple occasions and coughed repeatedly. The judge could be heard ordering the ill woman not to say anything beyond what was being asked of her. When the defendant attempted to explain her health issues, Ehrlich refused to listen. 2 days after the hearing, Twiggs passed away at her home. Ehrlich was accused of aggressive and tyrannical behavior by public defender Howard Finkelstein in a letter addressed to Chief Administrative Judge Jack Tutter. In the aftermath of the incident, she was requested not to return to the bench. Number 9. Elizabeth Shearer.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your chief public defender.
Florida Circuit Judge Elizabeth Shearer, who presided over the Parkland school shooting case, had a heated confrontation with 2 of Nikolas Cruz's public defenders, Gordon Weeks and David Wheeler, on November the 1st of 2022. The argument occurred during Cruz's sentencing hearing, when Weeks and Wheeler expressed the sentiment that their team was being personally attacked by the parents of the victims. Weeks asked the judge to forbid the parents from using the court as a platform to vent their frustrations, considering their statements as an incitement to violence. Assistant State Attorney Carolyn McCann protested, stating it was their right to express themselves and that they'd only responded to the question, "Would you like to say something on behalf of the victim you are representing?" Shearer ordered the defense attorneys to sit down, but Weeks instead approached the stand, accusing the judge of expressing the same misdirected anger toward the defense team as the victim's parents. When Shearer once more ordered him to take a seat, Weeks asked multiple times for a sidebar or recess, but his petitions were denied. Shearer subsequently admonished the defense for laughing with their client and even making an obscene gesture at the court during the trial. She reprimanded the men for mentioning her own children in their argument, telling them they were out of line and stating they'd be moving on to sentencing, prompting Weeks to storm out of the courtroom. Number 8. John McBain.
You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
When 31-year-old Camia Gamet laughed during her victim's family impact statements on April the 16th of 2014, Jackson County, Missouri Judge John McBain furiously admonished her. Gamet, who was accused of fatally stabbing her boyfriend, 38-year-old Marcel Hill, 11 times, rolled her eyes and interrupted a statement being made by Hill's aunt. McBain subsequently warned the woman he'd duct tape her mouth closed if she didn't shut up. He went on to call the case one of the worst cold-blooded murders he'd ever seen. During sentencing, McBain once more expressed resentment towards Gamet, stating, "You gutted him like a fish in that apartment. I hope you die in prison. If this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the cheer." Gamet was sentenced to life in prison. The lawyers indicated they would appeal the punishment, claiming their client had acted in self-defense. Number 7. Aubrey Rhymes. On January the 7th of 2021, Pike County, Missouri Judge Aubrey Rhymes got into a physical altercation with a defendant, 27-year-old Sidney Newsom. The latter, who'd been charged with domestic violence, grew irate during the court proceedings and proceeded to throw a stack of papers at the judge. After the bailiff had been unable to restrain him, Rhymes stepped out of his seat and pinned the defendant on the table until deputies entered the courtroom and took charge of the situation. Newsom's brother was subsequently arrested for getting involved in the struggle. Newsom had counts of contempt of court and simple assault added to his list of offenses. Fortunately, no one got hurt during the fight. Nevertheless, it was reported that security would be increased during the remainder of the case's proceedings in order to keep everyone involved safe. Number 6. Wayne Culver.
Hold on. Sir, I'm doing something. Can you shut up and sit down? That's not shutting up. You want to be held in contempt and go to jail? I asked you a question. Then shut up.
Florida Judge Wayne Culver faced a possible suspension of up to 60 days for getting into heated arguments with several defendants, cursing in court and unlawfully sentencing someone to 537 days in jail for contempt. The first incident took place on January the 25th of 2022. When the defendant interrupted the proceedings, Culver told him that if he spoke out of term again, he'd be charged with contempt of court, leading to additional time in jail. He issued an initial sentence of 179 days, which sparked a back and forth that led to Culver warning, "If you keep on interrupting us, you're going to have the jail renamed after you." By the end of the contentious interaction, Culver had sentenced the defendant to 537 days behind bars. He went back on this sentence, however, as it wouldn't be legally enforceable, and reduced the ruling to 179 days. The second incident occurred on February the 10th of 2022. It reportedly involved 50-year-old Kevin Newton, who'd arrived late to his hearing and was trying to take his seat when Culver demanded he sit down and shut up. When the defendant replied, the judge threatened to hold him in contempt of court while issuing him an expletive-laden insult. For his inappropriate outbursts, Culver was recommended an unpaid 60-day suspension and was also ordered to complete an anger management and sensitivity training course. Number 5. Vonda Evans. On June the 2nd of 2017, a man was removed from a Detroit courtroom following a heated verbal exchange with the judge. 46-year-old Anthony Thornton, who was accused of criminal misconduct, screamed at Judge Vonda Evans, "I'm innocent," before hurling profanities at her. Evans demanded the defendant be quiet, but when he refused, she instructed court officials to remove him, saying, "I'm not even going to dignify that comment." Thornton was taken from the courtroom and Evans continued with the hearing, in which it was determined that the defendant would be found not guilty of kidnapping, but guilty of unlawful imprisonment and misconduct. Before ending the proceedings, the judge ordered Thornton to be brought back so she could further reprimand him for his actions. The defendant subsequently apologized for the outburst. During a previous unrelated sentencing hearing on January the 23rd of 2017, Judge Evans was involved in a similarly contentious interaction when she scolded a defense attorney for accusing her of not properly reviewing a report. The lawyer, Terry Price, had requested a day to further review the documents, but was only allowed an hour. Price proceeded to tell Evans she didn't have enough time to properly read the report either, but the judge sternly ordered him to drop the issue. Number 4. Matthew Sipniewski. Dutch judge Matthew Sipniewski from Rotterdam called 29-year-old Daquan Green a sociopath during a sentencing hearing on January the 21st of 2021. Green, who'd been found guilty of second-degree murder, professed his innocence throughout the trial, prompting Sipniewski to angrily rebuke him, saying, "You are not just a murderer, you are a sociopath." Green was sentenced to 25 years, likely to be served in a maximum security facility, although Sipniewski remarked that he wished he could have given him a life term without the possibility of parole. Number 3. Olu Stevens. Kentucky Judge Olu Stevens of the Judicial Circuit that presides over Jefferson County sentenced Adam Satterley to 60 days in jail after he used a racial slur in court. On January the 4th of 2016, Satterley reportedly issued the racially charged insult in response to Stevens revoking his bond. The judge at first seemed willing to let the remark go, but subsequently ordered the defendant back into the courtroom, at which point he asked Satterley if he had anything to say about the insult. The defendant denied having addressed the court, stating he'd been speaking to his brother, but Stevens wasn't swayed by his explanation. He reprimanded Satterley, warning him never to use the word in question again, after which he sentenced him to 60 days in jail.
Hey, it's Carl. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments in the comments section below, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get your video going next.
Number 2. Robin Limonides. On February the 5th of 2020, Judge Robin Limonides was publicly reprimanded for intemperate behavior during proceedings of the Florida Supreme Court. Limonides had allegedly made inappropriate remarks about defendants Skylar Francis and Anthony Welch during hearings in November of 2018 and March of 2021. The most incendiary statements were made during sentencing. In one case, Leimonides told the defendant he wasn't worthy of life in prison, while she wished another would have to fight for his life every minute of every day. The Supreme Court admonished the judge for her comments, determining it had served only the purpose of abusing and insulting the recipients. Leimonides admitted her problematic behavior and was ordered to undergo stress management counseling to help with her outbursts.
And we required you to appear here today for this public reprimand in this public forum. For these failings, Judge Leimonides, you are hereby publicly reprimanded. You're now free to leave.
Number 1. Eugene Lucci. On March the 1st of 2019, 32-year-old Manson Bryant accused Ohio judge Eugene Lucci of being racially biased against him after he was sentenced to 22 years in prison for aggravated burglary, robbery, and kidnapping. Bryant unloaded a minutes-long tirade, repeatedly insulting the judge and calling him a racist. During the sentencing hearing, Lucci felt Bryant had shown some remorse for his crimes, leading him to decide against giving the defendant the maximum possible term of 28 years behind bars. Following Bryant's outburst, however, he extended the original sentence. The interaction in question wasn't the first time Bryant and Lucci had gotten into an argument in court. Back in 2014, the former had snapped at the judge after pleading guilty to receiving stolen property and receiving a year in prison as punishment. The man's legal defense team filed an appeal against Lucci's decision, with the Supreme Court reportedly ruling 4-3 in favor of Bryant.
Let him go. Let me out! Let's take him out. Let me out, man! I swear to God, turn up in this bitch.
Does counsel waive the...
Let me out!
Thanks for watching. Would you rather sit on the jury for a trial that lasts 6 months or spend a week in jail? Let us know in the comments section below.